Welcome to The Explainer, where we break down big ideas. Today, we are diving into a foundational text that really shaped Western thought. It's a letter from the Apostle Paul, and in it, he argues for a totally radical new concept of what it means to be righteous. So, Paul kicks things off with this bombshell of a thesis. A righteousness from God is revealed, not earned. It's not something we achieve, but something that's shown to us. But what does that even mean? And why was this such a revolutionary idea back then? Okay, first things first, let's get our key terms straight. When Paul talks about the gospel, he's not just talking about a story. He means the main announcement, the good news, right? It's this declaration that salvation comes through God's power, not our own hard work. It's not a moral lesson, it's a statement about what God has done. So, this whole argument really boils down to one central question that people have been wrestling with for, well, forever. How can a person ever be considered righteous or in a right standing before God? To get to his answer, Paul first builds a case, almost like a lawyer in a courtroom, to show us why a totally new answer was so desperately needed. So, sticking with that courtroom idea, Paul basically steps into the role of a prosecutor, and his first charge is against the entire non Jewish world, the Gentiles. He argues they've got no excuse because the evidence for God is literally all around them. So, his point is this: the evidence of God is just plain obvious in the world. You can see it in creation itself. But humanity, Paul says, willfully ignored it. They saw the truth, but they made a choice to worship created things instead of the Creator. And you can see how this becomes a kind of downward spiral. Paul doesn't describe some sudden fall from grace. He lays out this step-by-step descent away from truth. And it all starts with something as simple as a failure to be thankful, and it ends up in the worship of idols. And this is where Paul does something really clever. He totally anticipates the counter-argument. He knows what people are thinking. Okay, fine, that's true for the Gentiles, but what about the Jewish people? They were given the divine law directly from God. Surely they're in a better position, right? And boom, this is where Paul just masterfully turns the tables. He argues that just having the law doesn't automatically make you righteous. He uses these sharp, rapid-fire questions to show that actually, the law can expose hypocrisy. It just highlights the failure to actually keep it. So, what's the bottom line here? The playing field is now completely leveled. Doesn't matter if you're a Gentile or a Jew, whether you have the law or you don't. Humanity as a whole shares the exact same fundamental problem. And this sets the stage for a universal verdict. All right, so now that he's got everyone in the same boat, Paul delivers a series of knockout blows. He starts quoting from ancient scriptures to make his final, absolutely devastating point about the human condition. He starts with this huge, sweeping statement: there is no one righteous. And then, just to make sure nobody misses the point, he doubles down. No exceptions, no loopholes, not even one. And there it is. The indictment is complete. It's totally universal. From Paul's perspective, this is the climax of the problem. All have turned away. There is no one who does good, not even one. Every single person, everywhere, falls short. So the verdict is in. No one, and he means no one, can be declared righteous by doing the works of the law. Because Paul argues the law's true function was never to save us. It's supposed to act like a mirror, to make us aware of our own sin. So, just when the situation seems completely and utterly hopeless, the entire argument takes this dramatic turn, and the whole thing pivots on two of the most important words in the entire letter. But now, these two little words change everything. Everything up to this point was the bad news. This is the pivot to the good news. But now, Paul writes, a righteousness from God completely apart from the law has been revealed. This is the solution. Now, to really get this solution, we have to understand this word: justification. It's a legal term, straight out of the courtroom. The key thing is, it's not about becoming righteous through your own moral effort. It's about being declared righteous, like a legal verdict handed down by the judge. So you've basically got these two completely different systems, right? Two paths. On one hand, you have the old way, the impossible path of trying to earn your righteousness through your performance. And on the other, you've got this new way, receiving righteousness as a totally free gift through faith. Okay, so let's boil this solution down to its core parts. Paul restates the problem. All have sinned. But then he gives the fix. Everyone can be justified freely by God's grace, which just means an unearned, undeserved gift. It's a righteousness that was paid for by someone else, and all you have to do to access it is have faith. Okay, you can imagine how this landed. This idea was so radical, so against the grain, Paul knew he needed an absolutely ironclad example to prove his point. So he turns to the most revered figure in all of Jewish history, Abraham himself. So Paul goes right to the source, the ancient scriptures, and he pulls out this quote. He makes the case that Abraham's righteousness came from his belief, his faith in God's promise. But here's the real kicker. It's not just what happened that matters, it's all about the timing. And this is where the timeline becomes the killer evidence for Paul's case. Look at the order of events. Abraham was declared righteous before he performed the main work of the law at the time, which was circumcision. The verdict of righteous was handed down the moment he simply believed. This proves his right standing was based on faith, not on works. So what's the big takeaway? This makes Abraham the father not just of a physical nation, but of all who believe, whether they follow the specific Jewish laws or not. It establishes this universal principle that's available to everyone. Righteousness is a gift of grace, and you access it through faith. And that leaves us with this big, final question to chew on. If righteousness is not an achievement to be earned, but a gift to be received, what does that change? You see, Paul's argument isn't just some abstract theological idea. It completely reframes the entire human relationship with God. It's a shift from anxious performance to trusting acceptance. And that one shift, Paul argues, changes absolutely everything.